Hello and welcome to the newest video all about in-text citations. So our particular worksheet is about dragons and it's made up. So those aren't real quotes and they aren't real resources, but it's still fun to look at. So this example is about elephants and cheese. Again, very made up and silly. But the idea is that we play with these ideas of in-text citation. So when we're looking at what we put into that citation, we are being very minimalistic. We are going to give an author that, as we're going to see, could be the author, it could be a group, it could be the title of the work itself if we don't have an author, but the key element is that it's the first thing. So when we go to a reference page and we put our finger on the left margin, we should be able to see that item that sticks out to the left. Remember, the first line is not indented and every other line is. So that very first thing that sticks out for us, whether it's the author themselves, whether it's a group authoring it, or even the title of a work, all these different possibilities, that's the first thing anyone would see. So it's going to be alphabetical, it's going to help everyone find it, and it's going to be that first element. Then we're going to give a date. As we will also see, maybe we have lots of information about that date. If you think about something like a blog post or a web page, we don't just have a date anymore. We could have, June 22nd, 2023 at 5 a.m. in the morning Eastern time. We can have all of this extra stuff, and we generally stick in our reference to year, month, and day if we have those. But in our citation, just the year. We're really trimming all of these parts down. And then location. If we happen to know like what page or paragraph, we put that in. But as we will start to look at, a lot of things are on the web anymore, so they are presented to us as PDFs, web pages, all these different things. And if it's on the web, everyone is just a click away from finding that item. What I mean is that you do Control or Command F, that opens the find function, and you type in what you want to find, and it takes you right to it. So a lot of times these days, we're not actually doing the location because we don't really need to. So as we're looking at that, and you can look at the APA study guide as well to see sort of those quick guide items, what I want to look at first is trying it out for ourselves. So I'm going to move this over a little. I like to have two copies of the worksheet open. This one is on the left that I'm kind of covering up is our Word document, and we're going to be able to go into that and type in info. Over here is a PDF, and I can't type into it very easily. I can add text boxes and things, but what I like to do is have the reference page over here on my right, and then on my left I have the work I'm actually doing. So I'm going to make an empty slide. Let's see, let's go with that. And what I want to do is practice citations. So let's get started. Let's look at the very first item on that reference page. If I'm looking for, so we're going to go in here and add this. I'm looking for the author, the year, and a location if possible. So let's go put that information in. It gives us all of this information. It tells us an author and their initials, a year and a month. It gives us the title of an article. It gives us the title of a journal number, and a journal issue. So that would be the sort of sixth one, the fourth quarter. So lots of good details here, and a page reference number. So the journal article is over those 2 pages. Well, right now, I don't really need a page number because I don't know what my quote is going to be from. So I'm just going to take the parts I actually know I'm going to use. So when I get to that parenthetical citation, I'm going to need the last name, Atchison, and then I'm going to need to differentiate that I've moved on. I guess in general, people would know that 2004 isn't a name, but we are setting that precedent of always dividing them. And who knows, maybe it will be a name at some point. So I already know. That is what I'm going to take. I'm going to take Atchison, not Atchison CL, not taking the initials, and then I'm only taking the year. Not 2004 April, I'm just taking 2004. So let's see if we can go a little further. Let's try this one. Concise Oxford Dictionary, 11th edition, 2004, and all of that. So what am I going to use here? Well, let's look at it. It's not an author per se, because it is a dictionary and lots of people are contributing. So it is the title of a book, and it's in italics. So the first word of a title Whoops, if I typed it correctly. I did it backwards, didn't I? Okay, there we go. The first word is going to be capitalized in a title. But what about the second word here? It's capitalized. Why did Oxford get to be capitalized? Well, in this case, Oxford is a town. It's a village or city in England, and there are lots of other Oxfords, aren't there? Oxford, Mississippi, I think it is one. So it's the name of a location. So because it's a proper name, we are capitalizing it as well. But what about the word dictionary? Notice that finally we get to one that's not capitalized. We capitalize the first word. We capitalize words that are proper names and proper nouns, and we don't capitalize anything else. So that's why dictionary is not capitalized. But I don't need to put 11th edition and all of that. I need to turn off my italics and put a comma down. And again, I'm just looking for a year, and that's all they gave me. So there we go. We're ready with that one. I didn't do the middle two here, Coleman, because it's going to be the same, right? It's going to be Coleman in 1984, Coleman 1988. Now let's go try one that is different again. So this one has the date it was written as well as a retrieved date. Anymore with APA, we're not necessarily doing the retrieved date. Essentially what they're saying is, do you think that this particular web page is going to be something that frequently changes? So in this case, when we're looking at it's an research institute area, the idea that it's part of this university publication, that particular work is not changing. It's been published, it's sharing that study information, and it's going to stay as is. I think if it were perhaps something about something cutting edge that could be updated frequently, maybe perhaps if it was about social media, and those posts can be created and deleted and altered quite frequently or reshared in different formats. In those kinds of situations, definitely go with the retrieved from, retrieved date. But in general, we're just not doing that because we're saying, what exactly is going to be extensively changed with a new website and a new everything. And there isn't a lot there. So let's look at this first part. Elephant Research Institute, Simon Fraser University. Well, we just want the start of this. We want Elephant Research Institute and a comma because we're getting ready for our date. And we're not picking the date we've looked at it. We're looking at the date that it was originally published. So 2001. And there we go. And again, I mistyped it. This is why I need students. I need you to help me with the basics. I get so lost with those. We need each other with all of it, don't we? Okay, we're going to do three more. Okay, so we're going to do this one next. Elephant Stampede, 7 cheese lovers trampled. Ugh, that sounds terrifying, right? So that's a really long title. What we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, if someone is looking at my reference page and they get to the word elephant, well, there are 2 words, right? Elephant Research Institute, Elephant Stampede. One is plural, one is not, but we would see 2 elephant notes. So I definitely want more than the word elephant there. And then Elephant Stampede. Could it get mixed up anywhere else? Elephant Stampede, Elephant Research. Would someone confuse those 2? Probably not. So titles of articles are going to go in quotation marks. And I'm just going to put Elephants Stampede. Oops, comma, and then my quotation marks, and then I'm going to pick my date. So 2003, November 22nd, I only want the year, 2003. So I'm not always putting everything. Like with the dictionary, I didn't put 11th edition. With the Elephant Research Institute, I didn't call out the university. With Elephant Stampede, I cut off 3 to 4 words. So I'm tightening those up because I want people to focus on my content. I want them reading what I've shared. And if I put all of that, they can't help but stop. They're going to be like, oh, and what happened? They're going to see all of these extras, and they don't need those. They need to say, oh, I want to go look that up. And that is going to take them to the reference page. Okay, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty with these 2 examples. So both of these start with Gibson. Both of them have Sturgis, but notice where that ampersand, the and symbol is. And the first one we have Gibson and Sturgis. And the second one we have Gibson, Sturgis, and Bates. There are 2 very different things happening because one is 2 people in that article, the other is 3. So let's talk about that. This first one with just 2 names, what we do is if they're in a parenthetical citation, we're going to say the first name no initials. We're going to use that ampersand, and we're going to put the second name. And then it's going to go forward as always. We're going to look for the date. There we go. A quick one to this. What if I'm putting it in my sentence? In the reference, in the parenthetical citation, we use an ampersand because we are, again, we're tightening up that info because we don't want to distract. However, if it's in my sentence, if I say, well, according to Gibson and Sturgis, 1987, X happened. If I'm doing that, I'm going to write out the word and. So if it's in the parenthetical citation, if it's in the reference, we're using those ampersands. We're using all those different things that shorten stuff. But in the sentence itself, we would not do that. Okay, so now what makes this one so different from the next one? Well, 3 is the magic number. When we have 3 or more, so more could be 100, more could be 20, more could be 35. Any number 3 and above, we are going to do something different. We are going to change up how we tackle this. If you end up with one of these articles with a lot of names in it, check out things like the Purdue OWL at Purdue University, the Online Writing Lab, and look at that list or go to the APA website. What you're going to find is that it will say, depending on how many you have in that reference, you write all but the last one. So you write, let's say there are 20. Yeah, let's go with 20. We're going to write some of them, and then as we get toward that end, we're going to do an ellipsis instead of that and symbol, and then put the last person's name. But 3 to 20, we're going to write all of them in our reference. 21 to infinity, we're going to write 19 of them, put an ellipsis, and write the last name on the list. So if you happen to be the last name on the list, you're going to go in there. But it's rarely going to happen. Make sure you Google it when you're working on it. So this one has those 3 names. So I'm going to write the first name, but then I'm just going to say and all, because there are lots more. But I'm going to say it in Latin. So I'm going to say et, which is the word for and. I haven't shortened it. I haven't altered it. And then the word we're looking for is alia, all. But again, that's just too much. We've got to tighten it up and change that. So I'm going to shorten it to al, and I don't want anyone to think that's the word I was using. So I put the period to mark that I've taken something out. So I have the first name. I have et, space, al, period, comma. Now I'm ready for my date, which in this case is 1989. And we're going to do that every time that we have 3 or more. We're going to use that first name. We're going to do et al, and we shorten it to all instead of alia. And then I have one other thing that I was thinking about here. I forgot what it was, so I'll come back to it if I get there. So let's go try this. Part of what I'm doing here is saying, you know what if we practice these and we get them ready? So when we're over here on our page, if it says A, look, we already have A ready to go. So let's go see. This one, the first one is F, and we did F, didn't we? Elephants stampede. Oops. So we already have that one, so we're ready to go. When we look at that, we can then go over here. I'm going to hide my face now. And we're going to go in here and say, well, what goes into that area? We wanted resource F, which is over here, the elephant stampede. Let's double check. A, B, C, D, E, F. So make sure we got the right one. And then we are going to, we already did our practice, but again, think about it. What is that first part? We're going to do quotation marks, elephants, stampede. We do the comma, the end quotation marks because it's the title of an article. We put the year, 2003, and we're done. And we're going to keep doing that. The only ones that are different are over here. Source C, which we have with Coleman, 1988, we have a page number. So we're going to say Coleman, 1988, comma, P for page, so we don't write that out, a space, and then 160. The other one I want to look at is right here. There are 2 sources, so G and H. So what I want to do with those is I'm going to take the idea, like whatever I want in there, I'm going to just put that resource in, Then I'm going to put the second resource after a semicolon. So let's go do that first one. G, remember it was 2, so Gibson ampersand Sturgis, comma, 1987. So that one's done. Now we have a semicolon, and that is where we introduce our second one. So we say Gibson, and remember that was more than 3 or more. So we do et for and, al for alia, period, so that everyone knows we took out that extra I and A. We have our comma because we're getting ready for the date, 1989. So in this sample, just like the one we're working on with our dragons, they are doing all of these same things of practicing the different types. So A, practice this. Go in here and say, what would that look like if I need a citation? What would it look like in text? And then we can prepare them and just grab them as we go. So another thing you could do is practice by making an extra copy of this, and then we could write it out so that we're ready to go and it's easy peasy. So like that one, 1984, and we're just practicing those ideas so that when we're out there and I'm not here, although you can always call me, you will feel more confident about doing it yourself. So play with those ideas and then fill that in. Of course, if I were turning this in, I wouldn't want these in my final copy. That wouldn't be appropriate. But I can make that extra copy, just like my PDF over here, so that I can see it, and I could make that duplicate and have the copy where I can see all of those elements. So get out there and try it. Remember, that's what we're doing. We're not being perfect. We are practicing.